Okay, everybody, we're going to start rounding up into seats so we can get kicked off today's presentation. So feel free to take a seat anywhere, and then for those of you that are new to 1 Million Cups, it's very casual, so feel free to get up during the presentation. You can continue to grab coffee. There's some newsletters over there, courtesy of Allison, so feel free to pick one up and look through it. So we definitely have some new faces in the audience, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of how the presentation will work today. So I'm going to do some quick announcements, and then we'll go around the room and do introductions, and that way you get to know who's in the audience and who they're affiliated with or what they do. Following introductions, we'll turn things over to Allison. Allison will present about the East Madison Community Center and have an ask for you guys as an audience. And then when she concludes her presentation, that's when we open it up to Q&A. So we really want this to be a discussion-based, interactive session. And we'll have a good 15 minutes to ask her questions, provide feedback. So keep your mind working. I like to joke that Drew will call on you if you look like you're thinking. So he's that guy right over there. So either look like you're spacing out or come up with something. Yeah, I do that on a regular basis, so I don't ever get called on. So just before we get started with the introductions, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. We've got this amazing space here donated by the Madison Central Library. We have coffee over here from 100 State. The coffee is provided by Crescendo, and 100 State sponsors it, and they've been a great supporter of 1 Million Cups, so we're really grateful for them. And then over there we have Derek with Field 59, and Field 59 does a recording each week, and they provide a live stream for each of our 1 Million Cups. So if you ever are interested in one of the presenters but can't make it out to the library, if you join our newsletter, which you can sign up for on our website, or you visit our website homepage, you can just click the link and you can watch live. So to kind of kick us off, I'm Rachel Neal, and I am one of the co-founders of 1 Million Cups, and I also work for Nordic Consulting.
I'm Kurt Peterson, co-founder of 32 Auctions, a platform for hosting and managing silent auctions.
Steve Claude, the other co-founder of 32 Auctions.
Molly Siegel, I work for Talavant. We do business intelligence consulting here in Madison.
Hi, I'm Alex Ryan. I work in solar with SunPower Corporation.
Josh Miller, I'm with The Bridge, and we do community development in the south central side of Madison.
Jeff Williams, just separated from the Navy, doing intel work.
Good morning, I'm Nicole Williams. I also just separated from the Navy. We're new to the community, so we're just trying to start networking.
I'm Peggy Bakken, and I'm just a volunteer, does some work with East Madison Community Center.
I'm Brian Robertson, relocated here from Minnesota, where I did software sales with a startup. So I'm looking to get involved with the startup here.
I am Brianna Ilanay, and I'm a pastor at Trinity United Methodist Church.
Yeah, I'm Matt Covert. I'm an urban planner with the Capillary Regional Planning Commission.
I'm Hannah Wente, and I work for REAP Food Group, and we do farm to school in the Madison School District.
I'm Drew Corson. I'm an attorney who works with startups from Niagara Boucher and one of the organizers at 1 Million Cups.
I'm Tom Willis. I'm a technology consultant. I'm doing a lot of work around intellectual property and patent consulting around software.
I'm Megan Martin. I'm an independent marketing consultant, and I'm representing myself and a client of mine, Mobile Mesh Events.
I'm Allison Olger. I'm Assistant Director at East Madison Community Center.
Perfect. So we're going to turn things over to you.
All right. So good morning. Welcome. So despite the fact that East Madison Community Center has been in existence for 50 years, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, and we've won dozens of national, state, and local awards. And we have a youth program manager who's a licensed MMSD teacher. Pretty much no one knows who we are. So my goal here this morning is to make this a little bit less of a best kept secret in Madison. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the community center, a little bit about ways you can help us, and then open it up to questions. So one of our most essential qualities at the community center is that we're really a family. Everyone who walks in the door says they feel welcome, they feel part of this family, and that's one of our most essential qualities at the end of the day. And part of that is because a lot of people who come there stay for years and years and years, both staff and volunteers as well as participants. So we see a lot of people in our programs all the way from when they're little preschoolers up to adults. And so having people in our programs for 20, 30 years provides a lot of that family feel. Everybody knows who's with who and what's going on in life, and if someone had a baby or someone's sick, everybody knows, and it's just a big family organization. So that's something that we really, really pride ourselves on. A little bit of our history. Again, we were founded in 1966, so we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. We were founded by a group of moms in the Truax Park Apartments. So for those of you who don't know where that is, because again, that's part of why people don't know where we are, we're right near MATC Truax. We're off of East Wash and Stoughton, off of Wright Street. So the moms called themselves the Wright Street Betterment Association, and their goal was just to get their kids off the street and have something to do besides throwing rocks in the parking lot. So they organized and got together, and that was the first beginning of the community center. The apartments loaned them 2 apartments, so they had the center in 2 of the apartments there, which is these 2 here. And then they didn't have any budget, they didn't have any staff, so they were first staffed by the UW School of Social Work on a volunteer basis, and then they hired their first executive director in 1971 on a part-time basis, and they remained in the 2 apartments until 1981 when we got our own building, which is down here. So that's just a little bit of our history. Today, a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things remain the same at the community center. So our really core program is our after-school programs, which serve 5 to 18-year-olds, and that's really where all of our action happens. That's where the vast majority of our work takes place. So the kids come in after school, they get a snack right away, then they have some free time to kind of get their wiggles out after the school day, and then from 4 to 6 p.m. we do structured academic programming. So they do reading first, they can read to each other or they can read to volunteers, and then they do structured academics, which includes science, math, social studies, art, all that type of stuff, reading. And then at 6 p.m. they get a dinner. It's cooked on site by our own cook from scratch every single day. We work with a lot of local farmers and our own community garden to get lots of fresh veggies in there for the kids. And then after 6 p.m. they do a lot of more wellness stuff. So we have a full-size gym, they'll do sports in the gyms, they'll do mindfulness, meditation, stuff like that until they go home at 8 p.m. We're also open on Saturdays, which is not true for most community centers in Madison, so that's a really important niche that we serve. And one of our most important programs on Saturday mornings is Alternatives to Violence, where we teach kids soft skills and behavioral skills so that they can learn how to manage conflicts, have healthy relationships, and all of that. And that's really essential to keeping them out of trouble at school and in the classroom, in healthy relationships. And so it's really an essential program. And it starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and there's 25 kids knocking down the door at 9 a.m. on a Saturday to learn these skills. So that's just a testament to our staff and the work that we do. One of our other biggest programs is our food pantry. So we're open weekly. We serve currently about 250 families each month. So when I first started there 5.5 years ago, we were only open once per month, and then I pushed it to twice a month, and then now we're open weekly. And again, that's allowed us to serve about 250 families per month. When I started there, we were serving around 80. So we've had a huge increase there, and we've responded to people's needs by opening more hours. We also have no limits at our food pantry, so everybody who comes through can take whatever they need, and they can come every day that month, every time we're open. So they can come 4 times a month and get as much food as they need. So that's kind of our 2 biggest programs. Then we also do a lot of general resource assistance. So we are located in public housing. So a lot of people just come in and they don't know where to start, and they just say, hey, I just need help. And so we'll just help provide some resource assistance, get them started on the right direction. And then another very important piece we do is job training and skill development. So most of our kids start very young as volunteers. So they're always giving back to the community. They do service learning projects, they get involved. Again, we teach them those soft skills about if you committed to a program, you stay in the program, show up on time, things like that. And then as they age up, they become volunteers in our programs, and they give back to the younger kids, and they teach them some of the skills they learned there. And then a lot of them go on to either be our youth staff, board members, long-term volunteers, so we just keep people for a really long time and help them with those job skills. People who come in as adults, same thing, we usually help them learn some of those soft skills to help hold a job, and then we'll teach them a lot of skills and get them out and moving in the community. So we do a lot of that as well. And so now that we've turned 50, we've definitely been having some conversation about what does the next 50 years look like. And that's both challenging because it's hard to predict the future, but also because a lot of times in the nonprofit world, we're very stuck in how do I meet payroll this week, or what's going on today? How do I feed this family today? So it's hard for us to look long-term. So that's one thing that maybe folks in the room can help us look or work at. But some things we have talked about are the importance of teaching our youth some of these job and tech skills. So we've noticed that many of the youth we serve tend to be underperforming in the tech fields versus their peers. A lot of them don't have computers at home or may not have picked up word processing as early, things like that. So, teaching them some of those skills I think is very vital to their success. And then we also would really like to look at using technology to streamline our own processes. We're a very old school, small nonprofit, and so I'm sure there are things we do very inefficiently, and technology can make our lives much easier. So those are some things we're looking ahead to. We also have recognized that we really will need to provide more designated programs for older teens and young adults in that kind of 16 to 24-year-old range. We're seeing a lot of young adults right now who've never learned life skills, so they don't know how to balance a checkbook, they don't know how to fill out a rental application, they don't know how to do a job application. They're just kind of stuck, and they've aged out of most social services and don't have those life skills to make it to the next level. So we are concentrating on making some more designated programs for that age group because they're really an underserved population. And another thing we're really trying to work on is to stretch our resources. So, Madison has a ton of nonprofits and a limited amount of money. So one thing that we're really trying to do is partner with some of the other community centers to stretch those resources. So if you have, one administration for a grant and then 4 sites doing a program, you can stretch resources that way. And also we want to work with some local businesses and have businesses adopt us so that we have long-term partners versus like one-time grant funding. We have people who are committing several years to us, and they're committing volunteers and tech support and maybe a little money too. We'd really like to have some long-term relationships with some local businesses to provide some of that sustainability. So those are some of the things coming up. Relatedly, these are some ways that we really especially need help the most. We always need tutors, especially in the STEM subjects, which is probably many of you guys in here. That's our science, technology, engineering, and math. We've found that we hire a lot of our staff out of the neighborhood, and so some of them don't have those advanced STEM skills, and so when kids come to us and they need chemistry tutoring or engineering help, sometimes we get stuck. So that's a really important thing that we need. Again, our food pantry is serving 250 families each month. So one thing that we could do is we always need personal essentials, clothing, or food drives. So we prefer the personal essential drives, which is soap, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, that kind of thing, because you can't use your food share to purchase those items, and so those are items people request the most. And then clothing, we take used clothes, we take used household items. So if you have stuff you're trying to clear out of your house, we always take that stuff. And then food is kind of our last thing we actually prefer on the drives because we do get a lot of food from sources. And then we always need help with our social media and our marketing. As Peggy mentioned, she's doing a lot of help, but we only have 3 full-time staff. So we're doing what we can, but sometimes, when I'm faced with feeding people and clothing people, my tweets kind of go by the wayside. So if there's anyone out there who can help us kind of manage our social media presence or help some more with these marketing efforts, that would be great. We would also love it if someone could conduct a technology audit for us. Again, I'm sure there's processes that we have that could really be streamlined with some use of technology, but we just don't even know where to start with stuff like that, so maybe some of the brains in this room can help with that. And then if you're strapped for time, some other simple things that you can do is just little fundraisers. So you can have like a casual Friday where people pay $5 for their jeans, and then all that money goes to us. Or people save their change for the day, or rather than buying a cup of coffee, you give it to us, stuff like that. Those are just some little ideas. And then finally, if you'd like to find out more information about us, you can find us on social media. You can email me, it's listed at the bottom there, or if you have any questions. And then I'd like to open it up to questions from you guys now. Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about looking for corporate sponsors to adopt the community center.
Yeah.
Are you targeting any particular size of company or any companies in particular, like AmFam or?
Sure.
CUNA?
So we do have a long-standing relationship with AmFam actually. So they were our original funder back when I said we only had social workers on a volunteer basis. AmFam was one of our first corporate funders. They've been funding us for like over 40 years. So we are working to formalize that partnership with them for sure. We're also working with Task because they're right down the street from us and they do a lot of stuff. And so again, we have a lot of pieces in place. We're just trying to formalize that. You know, what does that look like? It's kind of a new model because again, most funding opportunities are for a year, maybe 3 years at a time. And we're really looking for like, you are our organization. But, so those are two very large businesses, but we'd be happy to work with some smaller businesses too. One thing that we really pride ourselves on is that we're very local, you know, which is a big thing in Madison. And so, you know, we're not a national organization, we're a very local neighborhood-based organization. So we're looking for local neighborhood-based businesses that have that similar value to partner with us. Yeah.
One of the things that I met with Allison, and one of the things that came out of our conversation is I think that she has a very hard task in front of her of trying to take this organization and make it known to millennials and younger people and people that care in the community. I know I hadn't heard of the East Madison Community Center before, but once I heard that they were providing like free summer care to kids that really would have nowhere to go and provide, you know, care so that parents can get to work, which ultimately betters our community when we have productive people that are earning livings and able to provide. So I think it'd be interesting to hear like how we can help support you to kind of give it a facelift, right? And I think that's where Peggy's come in a little bit. I mean, Peggy's got a background working with startups too. She helped get Nordic off the ground from a marketing perspective and give us a brand. So I know we've got a lot of smart people in the room with that work in that target demographic or are in that target demographic. So
Yeah. That's definitely kind of what we're looking for is, I mean, in all demographics, not that many people know who we are, but we're really looking for, you know, diversifying our donor database. Our donors are aging. They're, you know, every time we get 15 letters back, people who have passed away and stuff. So yeah, if you guys have any thoughts about that, that's definitely something we're looking to do. Yeah.
Do you have like a formal alumni program, like kids who kind of grew up in the neighborhood, use the services? I mean, have you drawn on them for, you know, not necessarily money, but, you know, time and network expansion?
We don't. That's something we've talked about is just having more kind of testimonials as well. So Peggy's helping us write some of those, and we're going to try to do some oral testimonials as well, because we do keep in touch with a lot of people who went through our programs, and a lot of them, like I said, are still involved as volunteers or on our board, but we don't have a formalized way to do that. Like you're saying, like if you're an alumni and you want to help us, here are some things you can do, or you know, give back or get involved this way or tell your story. We don't have like a formal way to do that. That's a really good point.
What kind of job skills have you guys, you know, when you're talking young adults, what kind of job skills do you guys work with?
So again, we start with a lot of soft skills, just, you know, getting along with your coworkers, showing up to work on time, you know, appearance, hygiene. We find that most of the people we work with, they're really at that baseline level. Like, you know, just getting to work on time is a win at some point. So again, we have a lot of volunteer positions at our job. We're a very small organization in terms of employers, but we treat our volunteer positions as employees. So we interview them, we hold them to a schedule, we orient them, do all that stuff. So if our volunteers aren't showing up on time or they're having some of these other issues with coworkers, you know, that's where we step in and work on them. So hopefully when they learn that skill there, they can apply that out to a job that actually pays them money. And we do also work with like the W-2 program and some of the first offender programs and stuff too, just trying to get people back in and back to work.
Have you heard about any of the code schools that are happening?
The what, I'm sorry?
Coding, internet coding.
Yeah, I have.
Yes, and so I know personally there are, so the Y Web is the big one in the area.
Yeah.
But that program has about 50 or 60 tech partners that are really packing, and you get all these like 20, 30 something bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, oh, I totally want to help. And so they get volunteers constantly, and so those kind of coding skills where you can learn, 3 months, 6 months, and you can come out with an actual, $20, $25 an hour career where you don't need it, you know what I mean? They're not looking for a bachelor's degree or an associate's, they're looking, can you read this language, can you code it?
Right. Yeah, no, I've been trying to sell the coding for sure, but again, a lot of people we work with are kind of like, we're still learning word processing. So when you say, hey, code stuff, they're like, I don't even know, like I can barely send an email. So I think again, like most people we work with are really at that base level. So we do certainly tell them about it, but I think we need kind of a bridge, like you said, we're working that bridge to get them from, I can barely send an email to, yeah, coding sounds like a career for me.
Okay.
So yeah, we face a lot of challenges there. Like I said, a lot of people in our neighborhood just really fall behind on technology skills. They don't have a lot of access. And we do have a public computer lab, but you can only do so much, during our lab hours. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, you've got proximity to Madison College, where you are. Have you looked at them to maybe help with your technology audit, like work with their computer science and IT department?
Yeah, that's a great idea. We work with them a little bit. They're tricky because it's such a huge organization and they have a lot of staff turnover. So, in a lot of our experience, we start developing a relationship with Madison College and then the person leaves and then the next person doesn't care. And so, that's a great point. But if you have a contact for me, I would love it because it's hard to kind of break in over there.
Right, and maybe, I guess Herzing University's not quite as close, but it's also kind of on the east side.
Yeah.
They do capstone projects. And so like doing a technology audit would actually line up, I think, very possibly with the kind of thing they want to do with a capstone project. Because it's it's also kind of a cross-functional, multidisciplinary need that you have. It's not just the pure technology, and that's something that might appeal to them. So.
That's a great idea. Thanks. Yes.
Well, different question. Are many of the children that come there, or the people that come to the center, are they homeless?
To the pantry, yes. Most of the people who come live in the public housing there, so they're not homeless, but they may have recently been homeless, and they're kind of in transition. So again, they're very, very, very low income, and many of them have been homeless at one point, but are not currently homeless. And we actually just recently opened up 27 units that they were going to demolition. They opened them up for transitional housing. So those are families who came straight out of shelters into that housing. So that's been a huge transition in our neighborhood because most of the people do have stable housing, and then these are families who are coming in with tons and tons of needs. So yes and no.
Those articles that the State Journal has run this summer have been very interesting.
Yeah.
About homelessness.
Yeah, again, so a lot of our pantry participants are homeless, but most of the people who attend our programs live in the public housing there, so. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that public housing? Did you guys help lobby for that, or how did that work to keep those open and
Sure.
the transition area?
So, yes and no. So, we had a whole redevelopment, and so they redid part of the neighborhood, and then they were, like I said, they were just gonna demolish the old units, and then United Way came in and was like, hey, why would you demolish these units? We have a huge homelessness problem in Madison. You can put some transitional families in there. So at that point, then we said, yes, we think that's a good idea. But you know what I mean? Because we don't operate the housing, so we couldn't say yeah, keep those units open. We got this. We'll manage that. So once United Way came in and said we put some money towards that and support it, then we also said yeah, that's a good idea, and we can help provide services to those families.
Okay.
You mentioned Task. Are any of the businesses near you of any size? Do you have folks, someone from those businesses on your board?
So Task, yes. We work a lot with Covance, but we don't actually have a Covance person on our board, but there are other Best Neighbor. I suppose they do a ton of stuff for us. We try to get a relationship with Virant, but again, they support us through a couple small fundraisers usually, but not a huge thing. Other than that, there was one time I was just biking around the area, and there's a lot of businesses tucked back there that I had no idea, kind of back in the industrial park. So that is something that, again, we only have 3 full-time staff, but that is something that we would really like to tap into more because, again, appealing to that local thing, you are our neighbor, you're right here, you should be supporting us. So yeah, that's a
Or
great
even like
point.
Great Lakes Higher Education,
Right.
finding a person
Right.
from there to be on board.
Yeah.
Because with board membership comes resources from those
Right.
entities, right?
Exactly.
Even Madison Business College, you mentioned that, the changing people.
Yeah.
Does Madison Business College have a board?
I
I don't
would
know, how
assume
are they
so.
administered? But if you could get one of their board members to be on your
Sure.
board, then you have some continuity,
Right.
regardless of management.
Right, that's
Could
a
help
really good
you
point.
there, I would think.
I think there are a lot of people that want to join a board too, and it would be a great, it would be, somebody would probably take it as an honor to be invited to serve on that,
So I want to join
on
the
that
board,
board.
so everybody's like,
Yeah.
perfect.
That's a good point. Any other questions, comments?
If there aren't any more questions, thank you so much, Allison. Any parting thoughts, any asks for the community? How can we get involved, or?
Just again, yeah, if you, especially those tutors and those STEM subjects, we need those, just, any way that you can give back or commit to us would be much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then Allison will be staying around for another 10 minutes or so that if you have some additional ideas or thoughts for her, please come up and ask your questions. She'd be happy to answer them.